And we start the day's other headlines with the ongoing trade wars. President Trump says that tariffs on Chinese imports will stand at 55% after U.S. and Chinese negotiators reached a framework agreement after 2 days of talks. But that figure appears to be a combination of levies already in place, and no details of the agreement have been made public. Writing on social media, Mr. Trump said the deal is done, adding that China will resume trading rare earth minerals and other components that are critical for electronics manufacturing. In return, the administration would drop its plans to revoke visas from Chinese students studying in the U.S., among other concessions. But the president also said today that he and Chinese President Xi Jinping would have to sign off on any final deal. Against the backdrop of those ongoing China tariffs, new data show that U.S. consumer prices rose slightly last month. The U.S. Labor Department reported today that inflation rose 2.4% in May compared with a year ago. That's up slightly from a month before, but actually less than expected as higher costs for groceries and large appliances were offset by falling prices for cars and hotel rooms. Economists say the data suggests that companies have been holding off on passing on the cost of tariffs to consumers, at least for now. The EPA is seeking to roll back Biden-era rules that limit the greenhouse gases emitted from U.S. coal and gas power plants. The agency also aims to loosen regulations on emissions of certain toxic substances like mercury. They're the latest efforts by the Trump administration to reverse policies aimed at curbing climate change. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin says the effort will cut costs and free the industry from standards that he calls gratuitous.
Rules were enacted seeking to suffocate our economy in order to protect the environment, seeking to make all sorts of industries, including coal and more, disappear, regulate them out of existence.
Power plants are the second biggest greenhouse gas emitter in the country behind transportation. Environmental groups say they are prepared to challenge the rules in court. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth dodged questions today about the Trump administration's plans to use a luxury jet from Qatar as Air Force One. During a Senate hearing today, Democratic Senator Jack Reed pressed Hegseth over the cost of upgrading the jet to meet security standards.
You've signed a contract with a company to reconfigure the aircraft. What is the price of that contract?
That cannot be revealed in this setting, sir.
Why can't it be revealed in this setting? Well, this is the Appropriations Committee of the United States Senate. We appropriate the money that you will spend.
The Pentagon said last month it had taken possession of the Boeing 747 jet, but there has been no formal agreement signed between Qatar and the U.S. that would finalize the transfer. Critics have raised security concerns about the plane and warned that the arrangement could violate the Constitution's ban on accepting foreign gifts. Billionaire Elon Musk appears to be doing some damage control after his public falling out with President Trump. The former head of Doge posted in the early hours this morning, "I regret some of my posts about President Trump last week. They went too far." Musk recently deleted a post in which he claimed without evidence that the government was hiding information about Trump's association with the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Today, Mr. Trump told the New York Post that he thought it was very nice that Musk said something but didn't go any further towards repairing the relationship. A jury in New York found Harvey Weinstein guilty of one of the sex crimes charges against him. The disgraced film producer was convicted of a first-degree criminal sexual act for assaulting a production assistant in 2006, but he was acquitted on another sex crimes charge, and jurors will continue to deliberate a third assault charge tomorrow. Weinstein was initially convicted in 2020, a landmark moment for the Me Too movement, but a New York appeals court overturned that verdict last year over witness testimony. He has long maintained his innocence. The world's most popular TikTok personality has left the U.S. voluntarily after being detained since Friday by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Khaby Lame is known as TikTok's silent star. He doesn't say a word in his comedy videos. Lame is Senegalese with Italian citizenship and has more than 162 million followers on TikTok. He'd allegedly overstayed his visa, that's according to ICE. The agency said in a statement that he was allowed to leave the U.S. without a deportation order, which could have prevented him from being allowed back into the country for up to a decade. Russia launched a new large-scale drone attack on Ukraine overnight. Authorities say 3 people were killed and at least 64 others were wounded.
Kharkiv is under attack yet again.
The mayor of Kharkiv addressed residents as emergency teams tried to put out the fires caused by the strikes. Officials say multiple apartment buildings and homes were damaged. Russia has launched some of its heaviest drone and missile strikes of the war in recent days. Moscow says they're retaliation for recent Ukrainian attacks on Russia. On Wall Street today, stocks ended little changed as traders wait for more details on that U.S.-China agreement. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost a single point on the day, so basically flat. The Nasdaq gave back nearly 100 points. The S&P 500 also ended in negative territory. And a passing of note, one of music's undisputed geniuses and the main creative force behind the Beach Boys has died. Senior arts correspondent Jeffrey Brown has this remembrance.
As a founder of the Beach Boys, Brian Wilson helped define an early 60s Southern California pop music sound. Celebrating cars, the beach, the surfing life.
Surfing USA.
With numerous hits, the band, 3 Wilson brothers, cousin Mike Love, and friend Al Jardine, was arguably the most popular American rock group of the 1960s, and Brian Wilson was its creative genius. He would turn from the beach to the recording studio to change the sound of rock music again through experiments that led to the 1966 concept album, Pet Sounds. It was a hugely influential project, one that inspired the Beatles to new heights with their album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, a year later. Pet Sounds is widely regarded as one of the greatest rock albums of all time. But Wilson himself spent much of the rest of his life battling mental illness, depression, and drug use, and the Beach Boys as a band suffered through internal disputes. The project Brian Wilson hoped would be his greatest achievement produced a huge hit single, Good Vibrations, in 1966, but release of the full album, titled Smile, wouldn't come until 2011. Wilson continued to perform occasionally in public, was celebrated at the Kennedy Center Honors in 2007, and published a memoir in 2016. When the Beach Boys were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1988, Wilson said this:
"I wanted to write joyful music that made other people feel good."
Last year, it was revealed he'd been diagnosed with dementia and placed under conservatorship. Brian Wilson's family announced his death this morning without stating a cause. He was 82 years old. And his music, a soundtrack for millions, lives on. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Jeffrey Brown.
Still to come on the NewsHour, U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee discusses the ongoing conflict in Gaza. And Judy Woodruff visits an organization trying to build trust in communities.
This is the PBS NewsHour from the David M. Rubenstein Studio at WETA in Washington, and in the West from the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism at Arizona State University.